All right. This one I am looking forward to. And I wanted to get back in the rhythm of doing these types of reviews and talks or whatever, because I'm going to be going right back into Malazan mode. And I'm sure that there's going to be things I want to talk about that are super, I find them deep from some of these great books, and this was just such a great one to kind of get that muscle, moving again. So I just read for the first time House of Suns by Alastair Reynolds, and I think I own Revelation Space, maybe. Another series that he has, but this is his big one. His big one, meaning people consider it to be like his masterpiece or whatever. It's a standalone, which is nice, and I was looking for just a standalone to kind of get me in between some of these other fantasy books that I want to finish off. I love using sci-fi as a what do you call it? The little parsley things that you have in between to like the palate cleanser, right? Because sometimes if it's done well, it just takes your minds in directions that you've never even considered. And this book did that, where there's some books that do that for me. I always mention Rendezvous with Rama because it's just not about the characters necessarily. It's about this it's about this spaceship, sort of, this object in space that they are exploring. And there's times where you just put the book down and you just want to imagine what it's like to be there. I keep telling people they should read it because it's just one of those books that just transports me into another area. And again, it's not even about the characters necessarily, but it just has that something that kind of takes whatever I was reading before and just kind of not calms or anything, but it transports me in a way that I appreciate. And this one is another one that I'm going to add to that, where I don't know when I'm going to reread it. I'm sure in some point, but man, it came out of left field. And a part of the reason why I decided to read it is because Bernard Cornwell, which I loved the one book I've read of his so far, and I've just been dying to read more of his. One of my favorite authors, just from the one book I've read of his. He gushes about this book and about Alastair Reynolds, and I'm sure I'll read some other ones of his. But man, really, really great, and I'm so glad that I did. So here's some thoughts on it. Now, it explores a number of things. It explores vastness of time, where we have it's split out into 8 parts, this book. And at the start of each part, it has a little prologue sort of thing. It's usually 5 or 6 pages. And actually, sometimes it's quite a bit longer, but it follows this person named Abigail and this other boy, and this is going to be just an intro to this, mostly non-spoiler. And it follows this girl and this boy and this game they're playing and their relationship, and it's almost like this VR sort of other world that they are kind of playing this game in, that's evolving, and it's kind of has these big concepts as a part of it. And so at the start of each of these parts, we go way back to this person. And then we have the other 2 POVs that make up the rest of the book. Now, Abigail's POVs happen 6 million years before the other POVs. And the other POVs are clones of this original Abigail. And Abigail was cloned 999 times, and she's supposed to be still one of them, so 1,000. And basically, the idea is that they spread out all over the galaxy and explore, and all this. They live for forever, I guess. And every 100,000 years or so, all the clones will come back, and they'll have like a conference sort of thing, and discuss what they've learned. And then they go out a little bit further each time, and they explore new things and come back. And sometimes the clones don't come back. And these other two POVs that we get, even though they're clones, they kind of have like a male or female version of them. And we have a male one and a female one, and it's like a love story between these clones, which kind of weird, but it's very, very sweet. And this is hard. This is hard sci-fi. It goes deep in the paint sometimes, and it makes you white knuckle with some things. Again, time is obviously featured. Insane speeds and distances of space are featured. We have humanity that has spread into different areas of the galaxy, and have kind of evolved in different forms at some points. And we have people who we have these civilizations that are human and not human, that have come and gone within this 6 million years that these clones have gone around. We have beings that have been around for crazy long times, and some of the big concepts happen when you kind of see what maybe has sustained them and what they're like and things like that. And it's just so interesting. And for a lot of the book, I thought, what kind of book is this? Because it sort of felt like that first Star Trek movie, in a way, with the original series, where it was almost a little bit too out there. And so it kind of felt like that for some of it, but it wasn't so out there with some hard sci-fi where it just lost me. I think this person who wrote it is has a PhD in astrophysics or something, like, so it's got heavy stuff. But man, there's a lot of heart in the DNA, which I'm so grateful for, because even though I wasn't sure for a long time where it was going, it it kept me going. Like I couldn't turn away. And this was going to be a 10-day read, and I think it ended up being like a 4-day read, right? For both of us who were participating. It was just a couple of us for the buddy read, and we both loved it, as far as I can tell. Now, there's a lot going on of what this book ends up sort of being, and again, I won't spoil it. There's a dark age sort of mystery. Even though they've been around for so long, there are pockets of kind of lost knowledge, and some of that is what we're trying to kind of figure out along with a couple of these characters. Even though it maybe isn't necessarily at the focus of what they're doing, kind of more and more it becomes sort of you want to know what some of those gaps of major knowledge are. And I don't want to go further into that, because it would kind of give away some of that. But there's it's very intriguing, and it becomes more integral to the plot. What really what happened, what are some of the major things that happened before, and maybe what are some threats that could happen again, and that sort of thing. But very, very, very cool. Fantastic characters. And again, the 3 POVs are essentially the same person in a way, but they feel very, very different. I have a new, I love android characters. I love Data. My favorite character in basically all of fiction. I love Data, and we have some other characters in other sci-fi and things, and this one, we get a guy in here. Won't say necessarily evil or good, but we have another one who I just find so compelling, and going to be in my top five of favorite characters of that type. And I just, man, I loved this. I loved this book. I thought it was so compelling. Again, I wasn't sure what it was going to be for a while, but man, it's this mystery that turns into a bit of a, 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 a thriller kind of chase. A lot of people who talk about the House of Suns talk about this big chase that happens, and it's kind of it's thrilling, and it comes together so well. And something great about hard sci-fi is it gives an alternate kind of view of what could happen given certain technological advances and stuff like that. And it kind of goes a little too out there for me for in that regard for this book. But some of the reasons for some of the decisions that are made based on that alternate universe, they just uh uh you just understand them once they are put forth, even though if that makes sense. Like, it's so out there, but you can tell that the author just has thought through it so well. And that'll make more sense if you read it, what I mean, maybe. But very, very good. It didn't seem like it just kind of came together in a stupid way or fell flat. Like, it just really flowed in a natural, really well thought out way. Now, I found it so touching. I wasn't expecting to find it to be such a touching book. It's hard sci-fi again, but man, there's so much heart in the DNA of this, and I didn't expect it. And that's what really puts it over the edge. You find that early on in the book, but it just sticks the landing in that regard. If you want something that leaves you, it's a cathartic sort of thing, and that's why I have the black and white, because obviously I'm feeling some sort of way, right? Really great. Um, it's so nice to have something that feels different than the other books that you read. You know, a lot of the time, fantasy gets that way for me, where even though I love the characters and the new plot, and sometimes it's like a different version of what we love, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. I love certain tropes if they're done well, and I like when characters feel familiar and there's good relationships and things, and this happens there as well. But it's one of the reasons why I like sci-fi, is because it feels like they're most willing to kind of explore ideas that there's an audience that is willing to go on that journey with them. So if you're willing to go on a wild journey that kind of is different, then I think you should try it. I know it won't be for everyone, because it can feel a little dry for a lot of it. Even though I still think this is one of the most heartfelt books I've read for a while. Like, I really think it's one of the great ones. My only regret, I think, is that I read it a little too fast. Now, I really liked it, and I wanted to. Sometimes I read things too fast when I just dislike it and I want it to be done. This wasn't the case for that. I was genuinely hooked and wanted to see where it was going to go. But now, in retrospect, I think I wish I would have let it simmer in the pot a little bit more. And it maybe would have resonated even a little bit more, even though, man, like the last 150 pages or 200 pages was basically in the last 24 hours. Like I was ripping through it. But you only get one shot at your first read of these books, and this is one where I maybe wish I would have spent that full 10 days to read it. It's a 500-page book, and it certainly warranted a nice, close, slow read. And but man, if you want to just plow through it, that's great too. So can't wait to go through it again in the future. I heard this is his best one, even though I am still super impressed with the author, and I'm going to bump the other ones up the list to get to eventually, and really, really great. And I can't wait to, again, get to some of these other, can't wait to get back into Malazan and stuff like that. So leave a like if you wish. Anyway, but I'll talk to you on the next one.